We are at our closing panel, the grand finale of We the Women, and the wonderful Alia Bhatt. You know, the first year she came for We the Women and she interviewed me and I was damn scared. Really, we turned the tables.
You were not scared at all.
I was not at all. I was quite speechless many times. So she really is one of my favorite people, a brilliant actor, great repertoire, completely grounded, completely herself, unafraid to have like a funny bone and show it off. Thank you, Alia, for being here. But with her permission, I'm going to say today, for me, belongs not to Alia, but to her sister. And why I care so much about this platform is because while you'll meet a lot of famous people on this platform, what we try and do here is to have unusual conversations with them. You've seen a million film interviews with Alia, and there are many people who can do a better job of that than me. But to have Alia on stage talking to her own sister about a brave, moving, and stirring book that she's written, it's in my hand. You'll be able to see it on your screens as well. Shaheen Bhatt, I've never been unhappier, shining a light on her own battle with depression. I think that calls for a special round of applause. Please put your hands together to welcome the wonderful Shaheen Bhatt on stage. Let's give it up for Shaheen. Thank you.
I have to say my sister is very, very nervous, and I'm also suddenly feeling very nervous, Barkha.
Alia, you're never nervous,
No,
don't
no,
lie.
I am, because I'm just very nervous that I'm going to start crying any minute, because the minute we start talking about my sister...
It's okay to cry.
And no, but it's not.
It's okay to cry.
It's not when I start crying, I don't stop. So now suddenly
We'll cry
I feel-
together.
Okay.
Chal, we'll cry together, really. It's okay. Why do you feel so emotional? Because even when Shaheen first wrote this book, okay, I have to come and sit. Okay, I'm going to give the sisters a moment. I think they can, I know what she's feeling, and I want to give her a moment.
I can't believe she's consoling me. It's...
You need to tell this audience why you're feeling the way you're feeling, because I know that when Shaheen first went public with her battle with depression, you cried then too. And it did something inside you, and you felt like you didn't know, you hadn't noticed, you didn't understand. And I think that's what makes you cry.
I guess the thing is that I just feel, I feel extremely proud. There's this feeling of feeling extremely proud, heartbroken, and overjoyed at the same time.
It's contradictory, many emotions.
Exactly. Because even though I've lived with my sister for my whole life, that's 26 years, I only understood, Barkha, after reading her book, what she was really going through. And that makes me feel, on so many levels, so, as in, I mean, I would not use the word ashamed, but I feel so terrible as a sister. Like, I feel like I didn't put myself out there enough to understand her, to think about what she must be going through. I mean, of course, there was on a subliminal layer, we always understood, okay, Shaheen, there are certain situations that are different for Shaheen. You know, things have to be spoken, you know, you may at some moments in life speak to her differently. But she's written it so beautifully in her book, where even as a family member, I really, really understood only what she was going through after reading what she went through. And also what makes me really
Emotional.
makes me very emotional is because I've really always believed that she's the most brilliant person in my family. And to some extent, she's never believed that about her own self. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that always broke my heart. It really, really broke my heart because she is. And not just me, everybody in the family. Like when Shaheen walks into the room, we're like, oh, you know, the star is here, the shining star is here, because she genuinely, with her mind, with her, you know, her emotional quotient, the ability she has, the way she makes you feel, it's of another extreme. And genuinely, if you,
And you're the younger sister, right?
Yes, I'm the younger
How
one.
many years apart?
5.5.
Huh? 5. Okay, they've got you some water. That's okay.
It on? Mic on? Yeah.
Yeah.
5.5 years.
5.5 years. So, Alia, what I'm hearing you actually say is that it's heartbreaking for you because in your mind, this is your elder sister, the brilliant shining light. And when you read her book and you actually discover that she's underestimating herself, or she was feeling lonely, or she was feeling isolated, you feel guilty for not having been sensitive to that?
I mean, I was sensitive, but I feel guilty for not having it understood, for not understanding it as much as I should have. I do understand it much, much, much better now, I think. And Shaheen, even though after I read her book, I said many, many things to her, and she had many things to say back to me as well, which I think you should also tell people.
Shaheen, this journey, and the journey of feeling lonely, the journey of feeling that life is not worth living. Very, very candid also account of, in a sense, Alia being in that public space and suddenly Shaheen Bhatt being in the shadows. I mean, these are very real things and they're very, very difficult to talk about. Most people are so politically correct about them that the story never comes out. You write very honestly about your family. You write very honestly about your parents, about your father, about how he was, self-destructive at times. Your mother being the pragmatic, countervailing, stabilizing force. I think that's how you describe her in the book. Shaheen, what made you tell your story? And did you think, or did you know at that point that you would effectively, in a sense, literally break your sister's heart? Because I think what she's sitting there feeling is, Shaheen, why did I not know? Why did you not talk to me? But part of what you went through is not being able to talk about it.
Firstly, I completely disagree with her...
Guilt.
Because I don't think that there was a point at which she was ever unaware or not sensitive. I think the thing with depression is, like, right to begin with, it is impossible to know the intricacies of it unless you have gone through it yourself. Which is why you always, even when you describe depression to people who don't know about it, you talk about it in metaphors. You talk about it, it's a monster, you have to talk about it in ways because it's impossible to describe otherwise. So I think maybe what she's reacting to is that maybe she didn't understand the intricacies of it, but I disagree with her take on, I don't think she has anything to be guilty for at all, because she's actually been, right from the start, she's been the one who's sort of held me down. Because even whether it was when we were younger and it was being a bridge between me and my mother, who really struggled with it at first, she was the one who kept saying, it's fine, she needs time, leave her alone. Because I was very introverted, I would never want to go out for dinner, I never wanted to do anything, and Alia would say, it's fine, let her be. When she's ready, she will come. So, I mean, you have absolutely nothing to be guilty about. With respect to why I decided to tell the story, I don't...
How did you reach that point of strength? Because it takes strength to write this book. The book is with me. Please read it. Please pick up a copy if you haven't. It's called I've Never Been Unhappier. And it's really a brave and moving book, really.
Thank you, thank you. I honestly, again, I also struggle with people calling it brave or
No,
courageous.
it is brave. You may struggle with it, but accept the fact that very few people would write about their lives with absolute emotional transparency. And if you don't want to call that brave, then let me call it brave.
Fine. Okay, I'll take that. But the reason I think I struggle with that as well is because on one hand, I feel like I've kind of been raised to be slightly transparent in general. My family is like that. My father is like that. My older sister, Alia, also to a huge degree. So it doesn't feel like I'm putting myself out there in that way, and I also feel like a part of it is selfish, why I've done it.
Why?
Because I feel like I was done hiding. I was done sort of pretending to be this whole other person that I was not. Walking into a room and pretending that I have it all together, like even walking out here right now, I was like, Alia, tell them I'm scared, because I feel like for me, that's the most important thing. I'm done trying to come out here and pretend, I'm so used to this and I know how I don't. And so it is partly selfish because I was done. So for me, this is slightly kind of forcing myself out into the open and dealing with my insecurities and sort of laying them all out on the table.
But do you really think that each one of us in this room does not have insecurities? Do you really
Not
think
at all.
my knees don't wobble every time I have to come on stage?
Not
Do
at
you
all.
really think that Alia doesn't have a minute of nervousness, a minute of anxiety? We all live with it.
No, I know. And that's also, for me, that's a huge thing, because what I've also realized is we live in a society now where everyone's pretending to be okay all the time, though. We're just whitewashing everything all the time. And we're all scared. We all have the same fears. But yet, for some reason, we're all pretending that we don't. And when you talk about anything authentically or come at anything from any space of authenticity, it connects. Because somebody's going, oh shit, I'm not the only one who feels that way. And like, to me, that's really heartbreaking, the fact that, you know, people are so hell-bent on pretending to be okay all the time that they're just not being who they are. And I read a really lovely line somewhere which basically said that when you're ashamed, you can't tell your story. And telling your story is the foundation of identity.
Yeah.
So not being able to talk about who you are, I'm afraid, you know, like I'm scared, like I'm always afraid, you know, and that's fine. But it's helping me sort of claim who I am as a person.
Alia, your elder sister says you don't have to feel the way you do, but I actually understand what you're feeling. You're feeling like maybe I could have made her feel better. Maybe when she didn't want to go out for dinner, I could have stayed back and spent that evening with her. But is there also that sense of, and I know this happens a lot, that when one sibling is kind of more out there, more comfortable, more social, and the other one is a little more withdrawn, is there slightly that sense of guilting yourself about it? Like, how have you coped with this? Because when something like what Shaheen has battled with happens, it's not just her battle. It becomes a family's conversation. It becomes a family's battle. And it plays out in different ways for all the family members.
Well, yeah, I think to a certain extent, even though I want to, like, for example, today we were coming here and we do a photo shoot. I mean, actors have to do a photo shoot before they leave their house because we dress up
Is it?
Yeah, because we dress up in clothes that don't belong to us, so we need to pick a post to give them credit, you know. So otherwise you don't get as big designer brands later and stuff. So you have to now become a norm.
I love you, Alia, for your candor.
It's become a thing. You have to post. So we were doing a photo shoot and I did my poses, this and that. And I could see Shaheen was there doing her makeup and stuff and she was getting uncomfortable. She's like, can we leave now? Can we go now? Can we do this now? So as simple as me pushing her to, I said, Shaheen, your book is releasing. We need some pictures of you, you know, because there's going to be some press around the books. Nobody knows, nobody has any pictures of you. They have one black and white image of hers, which is beautiful. It's my favorite image of hers. But I would like to have more pictures of Shaheen out there so she can promote her book, which it's not only for her. People deserve, and people should know that this book is coming out and it's all of that and what it speaks about, etc. So as simple as me being like, Shaheen, go. Smile, and their pictures of being taken. I said, you're looking so pretty, you're looking so lovely, and she was just getting conscious, and I'm like, Shaheen, just go, push yourself in the moment. So there was a certain feeling of, I don't know how much to push.
Yeah.
You know, so there were days where I would, you know, that she, like every time like my mom and her and me would be free, like, okay, let's go out, Shaheen. And she'd be like, no, I don't want to go out. And to a certain extent, you understand, but I'm sorry that I'm saying this, but I'm being totally honest. As a human being, you get a little irritated. So I feel guilty for feeling irritated with her.
Yeah.
You know? Like there was a time I remember we went to Viva Maya. There's this like spa in Austria where you go to lose weight. So we all went as a big happy family who love to eat food. We want to go lose weight. So we went. And we would basically have a couple of things to do in the day, but otherwise it would be very boring. So I wanted to go out, I wanted to hike, I wanted to take a cycle. And so on the way, I was like, Shaheen, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this, we'll do that. And she was like, yeah. And when it came to it, and I went to her room and I said, come on, I'm going cycling, let's go cycling. She's like, I don't want to go cycling. And I'm like, but we just decided. So, you know, in moments like those, it's human to get irritated with your sibling.
Which is okay.
Which is okay.
I don't think she wants to be treated with kid gloves.
I don't think so either, but you know, when I read the book, and also to a certain extent, I also have those days when I'm like, I don't know whether I can say this, but PMSing.
Of course you can say it.
Yeah, right?
It's we the women.
Yeah.
We can bloody well say PMSing.
So I also have those days when I'm like PMSing, where like I don't want to meet anybody, and I'm like, everybody hates me, and I'm just like the worst person in the world, and like, you know, all those things. Everything's really dramatic at those times. And I've had those moments with her, and I go and she lets me cry. She lets me be. Because to a certain extent, she feels that not just once a month. You know, she
Yeah.
feels that on a regular
Yeah.
basis. So I felt guilty that I don't have that same kind of understanding. I may not show it to her, but the fact that my mind was irritated, I feel guilty about that.
I understand. And I'm sure Shaheen does too. And you can go on telling her you don't need to and you don't need to treat me like this. But it's obvious that she will feel like she needs to be gentler with you. She needs to be more sensitive with you.
No, absolutely. And I also say it in the book. Like, being depressed is very hard, but loving someone who's depressed is equally hard.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, it takes a lot of patience, it takes a lot of understanding, and I think but it's also one of the kindest things that you can ever do in your life. And I think my family have been very lucky. They've done that incredibly well with me.
Shaheen, how many years did you live with this? And I've read the book, but I want people to pick up the book, so I'm not going to give away everything that's in the book. How many years did you live with this? And did you have those moments when you felt that I don't want to live?
So it's been 20 years now. For me, depression is chronic. It's
Even now?
Even now. Talking about having times when I don't want to live, that happened to me a couple of months ago. And I hadn't felt that way in a really long time. It had been a really long time since those thoughts and those feelings came back. But they came back. But I've
So you
learned,
have felt suicidal?
of course, yeah. I attempted suicide when I was 17 or 18 as well, 2005. Yeah.
And did anyone in your family know?
No, I mean,
This is a difficult conversation, and I'm just so grateful to these sisters for being willing to have it. It's tough for Alia, but it's really brave of Shaheen to actually sit here in front of, I don't even know, 600 people, 700 people, and say that she thought of not living. I'm sorry, but you've written a book about it, so I have to put it out there that this is what depression does to someone.
no, it's an important conversation to have. I think it's always hard for Alia to talk about this.
Yeah.
I mean, she said this to me right at the start of this book coming out. She said, it's going to be hard and I'm worried I'm going to cry. As soon as I handed her the book, she wept. Like, she stood at the window and she wept for 15 minutes. I'm like, if this is what's happening now, what's going to happen later?
But I'm just saying, guys, this may seem a bit strange, but crying is damn open in our house. Like, we cry
cry
for
about
everything.
everything.
We cry
I
if
think
we don't
it's
get
damn
our
okay
food
to
on
cry.
time. And
I
like,
laugh too much, I cry.
Yeah.
I literally, if I laugh too
hello,
much, I
that's
start
me.
weeping. Like,
I
will start
cry
weeping.
for all
Yeah,
moods.
Yeah.
Anger, laughter, and genuine
Yeah,
sadness.
no, so that's the absolute same. So
this is very normal.
This is normal.
This is
This
more
is
normal
normal.
than anything. Yeah.
But go on, Shaheen. You were wanting to say something. Yeah.
no, so what I was saying was that I've realized for me it's my normal now. I don't know if it's going to get to a point where it's going to go away completely. It hasn't gotten to that point yet. It comes and goes. There are days I feel incredible, but there are days I feel like I don't want to be here. And that, for me, that's my reality. I know for a fact that I'm at a point where I will never actually act on it, but it's a part of the illness. The thoughts do come to you. And it's not something I can really help past a point. I know that I've got a wonderful family and I've got a wonderful support system. And what has happened now is I automatically, when I'm feeling like that, I talk about it.
Yeah.
I will talk about it. So the first thing I did when I started feeling that was I was in London. I looked for a therapist in London and I went and said, I'm not in a good place and I need to sort of figure this out because this hasn't happened to me for a really long time.
This is there's dashes of comedy also in
I'm
this.
a mess.
Yeah, don't
You know,
worry.
I was like, also one of the reasons I didn't want to cry, Barkha, is because suddenly it'll become about, oh, Alia sheds a tear. But it's not really about shedding a tear over here.
No,
We're talking about
no,
like that.
it's not.
I don't want that to become the focus,
No.
but I'm sorry, I just cannot help it because to hear somebody who you love from like your core and your every muscle and every cell in my body, like jumps when I see my sister. I love her so much. And it's like, I don't just love her because she's my sister. She's a great human being and she's so much fun and she's so interesting. I really like being with her. You know, I really like her. I like being with her. So to hear that somebody, you know, had the thought, and she writes it in her book as well, where she there's an entry note, and she's like, this is not a suicide note, but I'm talking about the way I'm feeling. And like she said, one of the main reasons why also she doesn't think she'll ever attempt it, according to me, and that's what we've discussed many times, is because she really fears death. Like, we discuss it many times, like, oh, maybe in the past life she had like a really like bad death.
Or at the core of her, there is a will to live, and that's what we have to find, right?
No, definitely. There definitely is
And
that,
talking
yeah.
about it, like the fact that she can sit on this stage and be like, yes, 2-3 months ago I had this thought. It's very, very important to voice it. And even though I feel like we've had enough and plenty conversations about the way she's feeling in the house, with my father, with my mother, separately, together as a family, you still don't say it enough, because every day is a new day, and every moment is a new moment, you know, when you are suffering from depression, and it takes just that one moment for you to feel the way you feel. So I even when I ask her, when she goes to therapists and stuff, I say, you know, what do you, because she's constantly changing her therapist, she talks to different people. So I say, what do you get from these people? And she's like, you know, but there are different things you learn from another person, but you basically never can, you can never stop talking about it. There's always something new that you will learn from somebody who will talk to you and listen to you. So that's really, really important, to listen to the person and to encourage them to speak.
Shaheen, have you found people to be largely sensitive, or have people sometimes been disparaging, insensitive, making the whole process tougher? Because there is such ignorance about mental health and depression. There is such an assumption that somehow it's, you know, it's a self-indulgence. I mean, I've heard that so often. Or what does she have to be depressed about? It just makes my blood boil. There's the absence of awareness on this.
No, 100%. I think for me, I've been incredibly lucky, right? From the very start that I started talking about this, I have gotten, I'd say 99% of the responses that I've gotten have been overwhelmingly positive. But yeah, of course, you will get the odd message or the odd comment from somebody saying, you know, I've heard a range of things, from, you know, what, you've got a fantastic life, what do you have to be sad about, to you're just being attention seeking, you don't like that your sister's famous, so you're trying to steal the spotlight.
That's like the lowest blow.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a whole host of them, and for me, that's the thing. I don't think I'd be very, like, if somebody was commenting on the way I looked, I'd feel bad and I'd feel insecure. But with this, I know the difference that sharing has made to me when other people have shared, and I know the difference that it has made to other people when I have done it, because I've gotten those responses. So I know for a fact that this is an overwhelmingly positive thing to do, so I can take a couple of the bad comments. That's fine.
But there is this really, I don't know, a heartbreaking story in the book about a photograph that's being taken of the Bhatt sisters, and there's Pooja, and there's Alia, and there's you, and somebody actually asked you to move out of frame. Can you, I know it's horribly sad, but it's in here, and I want you to tell this audience.
So actually, it's funny, because I was talking to my dad about it like 3 days ago on my birthday. We were just having a conversation, and he said, you really must talk about that more, because it's such a, to him, he said it's such a real moment. And so, just for context, I was 10 and Alia was, I think, 5 at the time, and Pooja was acting in those days, and she'd called us to a photo shoot that she was doing. And the photographer wanted to take pictures of the 3 sisters together. At some point, they said, Shaheen, would you please exit frame? Because Alia and Pooja looked very alike. They were like literally like carbon copies of each other. So they asked me to step out of frame. And I was talking to my dad about it, and he's like, it still makes me uncomfortable to talk about today. So even that day when he brought it up, I started squirming. It made me incredibly uncomfortable. Because, I mean, it happened at a very formative time in my life. So a lot of my ideas of myself were being formed at that time. And that's not a very nice message to sort of receive. For whatever reason. I don't think the photographer was trying to hurt my feelings.
So there are many reasons for depression. Some are chemical, some are, you know, environmental, some are societal, some are, we don't even know. Do you think that it has exacerbated it for you, made it worse, that there is a constant, on most of your family, there is a constant public gaze, and maybe that makes you withdraw like even more?
Yes, definitely. I think, so with me, depression started when I was 12, And because I've lived with it for so long, it started, I'm sure it started as a chemical thing, but it became progressively more psychological because it happened to me at such a young age and because I've lived with it for so long. So my entire personality, in a way, sort of got molded around that. I was a very outgoing child. I was like, we were looking at a home video of us, and Alia's like, how did
Yeah.
I become the actor and not you?
There was a home video which we saw of us recently where my grandfather was at home and we were playing and we were banging on the table and singing Chota Baby Soja Re na 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 na. That's a lori he would sing to us. So my sister suddenly decided that this beat should be carried forward in terms of music. So she ran, she put the music system on, and she literally lifted me off my chair and she brought me to the hall and we started dancing. And I kept looking towards everybody who was behind the camera, being like, come, come, mama, mama, everybody behind. But she was like playing the camera, she was dancing, she was free, and I literally looked at her, and it's in the book as well. I looked at Shaheen and I said, Shaheen, you were so happy. Like, it came out of my mouth, but what I meant was,
Your exact words of what happened to you.
yeah.
Like, what happened? And no, and she was like, how have I ended up becoming the actor and not you? Because that was my personality.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, because it started at such a young age, I became progressively more insecure. And now that insecurity is sort of built into my DNA almost in a way. And obviously, yeah, when my family is an incredibly, forward, like they're always in front of the camera, they're always, people are, always looking at them.
What does that make you feel?
Sometimes left out. Sometimes left out because there's a part of me that goes, what could I have been had this not happened to me? So I have that, sometimes I have that feeling, but I also know inherently it isn't who I am, so that's also fine. Sometimes left out, but I mean, it's okay. I'm okay with it now, but it still comes with its insecurities because I'm human. You can't help it. You wonder if everyone in your family is outgoing, why am I not outgoing? If everyone is so comfortable in front of a camera, what is wrong with me? Because that becomes your benchmark of normalcy, which it's obviously not. There's nothing normal about the lives that they lead, but it becomes, for whatever reason, if that's your only benchmark, it becomes what you look at as normal. So I fought for a very long time to try and be that way until I finally realized that's not inherently who I am.
What would you want this audience, we're in the last few minutes, to know about mental health and depression? I am going to take a few questions, but I have a request. I am not taking questions on Alia's movies. This evening is about Shaheen, and I have Alia's permission to say so.
Absolutely.
Yes? So I'm only going to take questions about what we've spoken about, and I want to ask you, what would you want this audience to understand about mental health, based on your own struggle?
I mean, the first thing, this is a women's sort of forum. Firstly, I think it's very important to discuss how mental health affects women, specifically, in India especially. India is the most depressed country in the world at the moment, and women have twice as much of a likelihood to be depressed. And that's also because women are more likely to be disenfranchised. We suffer a lot of abuse. We suffer a lot of things that men don't suffer. We've got some very horrific stories that have just broken as proof for that. And it all contributes. Depression, it is a chemical, it's an illness, but also the society that we're living in does not help. It does not, so it has to be tackled at every level. It has to be tackled at basic human respect, and human rights have to be valued in order to eradicate it. It's not going to just go away. You can't pop a pill and get rid of it.
Alia, did Shaheen's experience and living with it change your understanding of something that you may not have even thought about? Before Shaheen wrote this book and you read it and you understood what your sister had lived with, maybe you had misconceptions about why people are depressed. Maybe you interchangeably thought it's the same as being sad, which all of us are. So I'm just wondering what that journey's been like for you.
Yeah, it definitely changed my the way I looked at people feeling depression, anxiety as well. I have actually come out and spoken about days where I also feel like I was feeling this inexplainable low, which even still now I'm still not understanding. I keep discussing it with her. Like, I don't know, I'm not sure. But again, I may relate it to a monthly feeling or whatever, hormones, etc. But now when I feel that way, what I know is that it's okay to say, like it happened to me recently where I was having a bad day and I called up my manager and I said, listen, I'm having a bad day. Can we cancel this meetings and can we tell them that Alia's not feeling good? She's feeling low. Like, don't say that I'm unwell. Just say, don't say I have like a stomach bug or something. Say that I'm feeling low.
You didn't feel the need to pretend and pretend that it was something else.
And the response I got for it was very, like, people were like, the meetings that I canceled, it's okay, we understand. So there is a certain waking up to it. Like she was saying, so many people have come to her about her book. So many people have come to me after she put that post out, where it all started from. That, you know, your sister was so amazing. I felt, I have just started feeling. So many people. Today I was having that conversation, like, oh, I'm going to talk today about my sister's book. And so many people were like, you know, but even I feel like I'm inherently a sad person. I'm happy, but somewhere when I'm alone, I'm like, it's everywhere. So the fact that we are talking about it, that changed within me.
You know, I'll share with you that there was a time in my life that I would get these anxiety attacks. And I used to think I was having a heart attack because I didn't know what was happening to me. And I would keep like telling my driver to take me to the emergency ward. It was almost comical. And I would go and the doctors would think I was some hypochondriac because I would come and say, I'm having a heart attack. And I finally got diagnosed as having panic attacks. And till this date, I actually don't know what triggered it. Was it chemical? Was it something happening in my life? And it's really common, and it is important to come out and say, I
had that as well recently, where I was feeling suffocated. I thought the fan was going to fall on me. I was like, I can't do it. Like, I don't know. And the thing is, what is most annoying at that first time, if somebody tells you, it's okay, you're fine. I'm not fine, bhai. I'm not feeling fine. So that's something that people should, that's like, I remember when I watched even Deepika's interview with you, one of the main things that she said is people would say to her, oh, it's okay, cheer up, you're just having, don't say that, it irritates. And as a family, we have like I said, crying is very normal. When we cry, it's like, oh, cry, baby, cry. Like, please cry. Let those feelings come out because we don't give it enough importance. We are like, when we're happy, we want to stay happy. Tears are very important. Feeling sad is very important. Obviously, this is different. I'm talking about even like minute moments.
Shaheen, you wanted to add to that?
No, I was just relating to your experience. I had the same thing with panic attacks where I would go to the emergency room at 2:30 every morning for a month, and to the point where they knew me there. So the nurse would see me come in and say, "Acha, machine leke aati hu, we'll just check your heart." Like that, it's that level. So no, I completely relate to that.
Okay, we have 5 minutes for questions.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rachna, and
Can you hold the mic closer?
I'm a practicing psychologist, and I am so grateful to all of you, for sharing your anxiety story, depression story, and also as a family, how you feel when somebody is going through depression. So 2 questions for each of you all. One, as you've been diagnosed with depression, so you're going through certain therapy. So I would want you to tell people what do you do now after getting diagnosed with depression and what they should be doing. And second, as a family member, when you go through this guilt and this feeling that somebody wrote a suicide letter a month ago and feeling guilt or certain kind of extreme emotions, how do you cope with that self and then show support? So to each of you. Thank you.
So in terms of therapy, like I said, when I had my suicidal phase when I was younger, the first thing I did was tell my mother about it, and we went to a psychiatrist. And I started on medication at that point. But since then, I've been in and out of both talk therapy as well as the psychiatrist's office. Talk therapy really works for me. I think it works. I've found that it works the best for me of anything that I've tried. Medication works for me to an extent. Certain medications work for me, certain medications don't work for me. Basically, I've realized that it's a constant, I constantly have to tweak and alter the things because what worked for me last month will not work for me next month. Exercise, these are all things that you hear people say which you think is, I couldn't possibly, I'm too depressed to get out of bed, I can't go work out. But when you're able to, it really helps.
Alia, to her question.
About the guilt and about the fear, I think when I hear of these stories, what I feel immediately is, like I just cross my fingers and I say, I hope and I wish and I hope and I pray that I never have to, would come true. And about the guilt, I'm a guilty person. I think I will always feel guilt. Even now when I was not in town for Shaheen's birthday, I felt tremendous guilt. So I feel guilt at every step. But what helps is for her to tell me that I'm okay. I'm here and I'm okay. That helps when we chat.
Okay. Okay, there are lots of questions and I have just a couple of minutes. Here in the black shirt, yes. Can we get at the mic? Where is that mic? Yeah, just pass it, please. It's a packed hall, so it's just tough to move the mics around. Yeah.
Hi, great to see both the commendable girls there. I feel like crying right now because it's the same relationship I hold with my sister. 6 years, you know, she's elder to me. I have a question. I am a trainer and I even teach, right? And I teach behavioral skills. So at times, a lot of my students come to me. I'm not a psychologist and I may not understand a depression patient, right? So a lot of students come to me and they say, ma'am, we are going through depression. And at times I'm clueless. Like Alia, I may be compassionate. I would be understanding what they might be going through. But I don't know how to respond, right? So I'm clueless at this point of time. I feel like crying. The way you cried for your sister, maybe I would just hug my student and cry. But I don't know what to do. Yeah, just two
I think that's a really important point, and I think that helplessness is what Alia was reflecting in the tears.
I think I'll first speak about how I would deal with that situation. Like I said, listening. Sometimes just to listen and not say anything. Just look into the person's eyes and just hear them out. Sometimes they don't even want a response. They just want you. They just want to know that you are hearing them. And hearing and listening are they the same thing? I feel like they're two very different things. Like, there's one thing that I listen to you, but there's like something that's blocking. I'm hearing you. I hear you. I don't understand it. I've never felt it, but I hear you. Like what you're saying to me, it's reached my core, and I don't know how to help you, but you know that you can talk to me anytime. The door is open. There's no defense. There's no advice. Sometimes they don't even want advice. They just want you to listen to them or to hear them. So that's one thing. And
I think for me, the most important thing was that I felt I needed to talk to people who could contain what I had to say. Because often you'll talk to somebody and they will, in response, also respond with anxiety. They will respond with stress. They will respond with, and that for you then feel guilty about talking about, it feels like I shouldn't be doing this to this person. Obviously, it's too stressful for them. So for me, it was very important to be able to talk to people who could contain what I had to say. So me saying, I'm feeling like shit today, I'm feeling suicidal today, rather than bursting out crying, is to say, okay, it's that kind of day, I understand. You want me to stay home with you? What do you want? What do you need from me?
Not easy though, Shaheen.
Completely
For
not
someone who
easy.
loves
Completely
you,
not
it's
easy, but it's like I said, it requires an immense amount of practice and patience. It's practice. Like anything else, it's practice. You're
It's
learning
like
how
training
to
yourself
you're
to-
learning how to deal with something, because it's just a matter of being able to tolerate what somebody else has to say.
Hello, Shalia. That is Shaheen and Alia. I have a question for Shaheen. That is, I know you do not like the term brave, but it takes so much courage to just come out in public and admit what the feelings you go through, because they might be dark and people, open up to judgment and all that. So, what made you
Go public.
Okay.
Okay.
And that realization? Was there a moment?
Thank you. Shaheen.
It's something that my father said to me, which was, do not let your pain go to waste.
That's well said. That's
So,
well said.
Otherwise, it would be meaningless suffering that I go through every other month, but this way, at least I feel like I'm turning it into something.
So you don't like the word, but I think you're enormously brave, because I would not be able to write this book, and I thought of myself as pretty brave. But the one thing I struggle with is to be as emotionally transparent as you've been in is. And so our final award this evening, 1 minute, I want to bring on stage is DIG Neetu Bhattacharya, still here. This is one of our topmost paramilitary officers. Knows a thing or two about one kind of courage. This is another kind of courage. Neetu, may I ask you to honor Shaheen Bhatt today? For once, I take Alia's permission for Alia to be in the shadows and for Shaheen to be in the... Shaheen here. Alia, you with her. Please, let's give these wonderful siblings. You can stand and read and buy this book. Shaheen Bhatt, I've never been unhappier. Can we please hear it for Alia and Shaheen for being as emotionally sensitive, transparent, brilliant and warm and real In a city and industry where not too many people are real, that is the word I would use. Please have a huge round of applause. And before everybody goes off stage, I just want to take this moment. This is our finale. This is our third year. Girija, where are you? Can we please have Girija, our festival director, on stage? Our team of producers, Sanya, Prashanti, Nidhi, Surya, and the wonderful team of Fountainhead. Too many of you to thank. Afshan, Ruchi, Jairam, Owen, Vishal. All of you, I don't know where everyone is, Girija, there you are. Our festival director, entire team of producers, and the entire team of Fountainhead. Thank you so much. And we end today with thanking
the audience. Amazing. You guys, like I said, you have to hear, and you all were amazing. You all listened and you all heard us, and it felt that we were in a family room together. So thank you so much. Thank you.